Traditionally, grape growers plant a rose at the end of every row of grapevines. The idea is that the rose acts as an early warning indicator of fungal diseases, which could potentially devastate the grapes, sort of like a canary in a coal mine. I'm in the famous winemaking district, the Barossa, near the town of Lyndoch. In most vineyards, there's hundreds of vines for every rose, but here, the roses are the main game. There's around 30,000 of them.
I did promise my wife a rose garden, and she got it.
Mark and Mandy Creed took over this winery, event and accommodation property in 2008. They continued the rose planting begun by the previous owners. Mark and Mandy have learned from experience and the advice of experts.
We would have between 2,000 and maybe 2,500 different breeds of rose in here. So we've got an incredible collection. The rose experts use it as a farm almost. It's a stockpile of roses or a museum of roses. They can come back here and take cuttings, propagate them, and obviously develop and sell them. But we also, in exchange for that, they'll give us back roses. What's this one here again?
This is Graham Thomas.
Graham Thomas. It's such a beautiful
love
one.
it. Yeah.
Wonderful aroma.
This is Serpentine Lake, and you've got these beautiful pink and white roses here, the Bonica and the icebergs. And I think it was just planted to be really pretty and serene, that part of the garden where you can just chill out.
Oh, it is gorgeous, and Bonica is such a reliable rose. It doesn't have a scent. However, it flowers for 6 to 9 months of the year, looks fabulous, picks well, no disease. You know, it's a great rose for beginners. And even icebergs, even though they're much maligned, I think they're a fabulous rose. I mean, it will flower for 9 to 10 months of the year, grows in the shade, doesn't get disease. And even if you don't like roses, you can just, you know, give it a haircut like a shrub.
Yeah,
Great rose.
Yeah, it is perfect.
Now, I would imagine that this garden actually has colour and interest all year round, not just when the roses are out. I can see geraniums and hollyhocks and nasturtiums all blooming.
We're lucky to have a garden that even without the roses, it really does look spectacular. In the winter, of course, you've got the natural greens coming through. In Mandy's case, she's a passionate bulb grower, so we have beautiful bulbs and she's been developing them through the rest of the garden.
Now, with all these trees, roses and trees don't typically work together. Do you find it's a bit of a challenge?
Fairly major challenge. The trees really do suffocate, especially the conifers and the pine trees. The needles really do suffocate the roses quite badly. And also we have water issues, so they miss out on some of the nutrients in the water. We're not trying to replant in those areas. We just know it won't work. So we let nature take its course and we focus on the areas that can survive nicely.
Now, I do notice that you mulch, and obviously mulching can reduce your watering significantly by up to 70%. What's your mix of mulch?
So we've been able to take advantage of a local resource in the Barossa Valley, which is grape marc. Now, grape marc is the leftover product from winemaking, where they press the berries and you're left with skins, seeds and stalks. So we do a mix of about, say, 3 buckets of grape marc to 1 bucket of wood chip, and that gives us a nice thick covering that will last, I think I've seen some of it last for up to 3 years in certain parts of the garden.
And the grape marc particularly really stops those weeds. If you look at a section of the garden that's had hay on it to a section that's had the grape marc in it, the grape marc is hands down winner for no weeds coming through.
Now, look at the fairy. I just love this rose.
The fairies have become just a wonderful border plant for us. As you can see, you know them well, don't you? They're prolific, and we use them a lot for just gentle decorations.
As a child, I grew up picking bunches of these from our garden to sell in our florist shops.
Aww.
And they, you know, you just get 2 or 3 in a vase, and it's wonderful for a posy. It's a beautiful rose. I want to show you something. Every now and again, a rose produces a branch with different coloured flowers to the parent rose. Here we can see this lovely dark salmon pink against the paler pink parent. Now, the interesting thing is that this is called a sport, and if a rose grower thinks its qualities are significant enough, they can actually propagate from it, and a new rose is born. That's exactly what's happened here. And Mark and Mandy have named this one Barossa Chateau. So you got to name your own rose.
We did. And it feels like it's a little part of us now in the garden. So it's just really beautiful.
Now, the garden looks spectacular, but it hasn't all been a bed of roses, has it?
We've had our challenges, and I think when we first came into the property, we were suffering quite a bit from drought. And then, of course, that reversed and we had a few years of very wet weather. So, so we've had some serious flooding in the garden. Probably 14 acres were underwater last time, and it took about up to 3 weeks for the water to dissipate. If nothing else, it taught us how robust and tough the roses really are. So they're pretty amazing.
So, Mark promised you a rose garden. Do you ever regret what you wished for?
Never, never. I love walking through the garden. This time of year, we walk through the garden every day, and people say, what's my favourite rose? And it's the rose I see on the day that's sparkling the most. And they really do bring a lot of joy to people, and they bring us a lot of joy too. So it's all worth it.